There is something happening in your life right now that you cannot fully see yet. You have been standing in the middle of a season that felt silent, delayed, heavy, confusing, and painfully ordinary, and because nothing dramatic appeared on the surface, you started believing nothing was growing underneath. But listen to me carefully. The silence was never proof that I abandoned you. The waiting was never punishment. And the slowness of this season was never evidence that your prayers failed. I have been working in places your eyes cannot measure. I have been restoring parts of you that even the people closest to you never noticed were wounded. You kept asking me for visible breakthroughs while I was building invisible strength. You kept asking for quick answers while I was teaching your spirit how to endure without falling apart. And although you thought nothing was changing, heaven has been moving around your life in ways your human senses could never fully track. There were nights you almost gave up. There were mornings when getting out of bed felt heavier than anyone around you understood. You smiled in front of people while carrying exhaustion in private. You answered messages. You fulfilled responsibilities. You kept showing up. But deep inside, you quietly wondered if your faithfulness even mattered anymore. You wondered whether your kindness was being wasted on people who never appreciated it. You wondered whether all your effort had become seed thrown into dry ground. You wondered if the years of praying, loving, serving, forgiving, and enduring were producing anything at all. Listen to me now. Not one moment of obedience was wasted. Not one tear disappeared unnoticed. Not one exhausted prayer failed to reach me. I saw the nights you cried without words. I saw the moments you almost shut your heart completely because disappointment kept repeating itself. I saw how many times you kept loving people after being hurt. And I saw the strength it took for you to remain gentle in a world that tried to harden you. That strength did not come from nowhere. I was sustaining you the entire time. My child, you have measured your life only by visible results, and that is why discouragement kept growing inside you. You thought progress only counted if you could immediately see it. But that is not how real growth works. A tree does not rise overnight. Roots form long before fruit appears. And some of the strongest things I build inside a human life are built quietly. The world celebrates speed. I build depth. The world rewards appearance. I strengthen character. The world tells you that fast success proves value. But many of the greatest transformations begin in hidden places where nobody applauds. You have been asking why this season has taken so long. Because I was growing something inside you that could survive the weight of the future you prayed for. Quick blessings without deep roots destroy people. So before I released certain doors, I strengthened the foundation underneath your spirit. You called this season empty, but heaven called it preparation. You called it delay. I called it protection. You called it isolation. I called it rebuilding. And one day you will look back and realize the very season you wanted to escape became the season that saved you. There are people listening to these words right now who feel emotionally tired, not physically tired, soul tired, the kind of tiredness sleep cannot fully fix, the kind of exhaustion that comes from carrying silent disappointments for too long. And I want you to understand something. You were never meant to carry all of this alone. You kept trying to be strong without bringing your heaviness to me. You kept pretending you were fine because you thought nobody would understand. But I understood. I always understood. And even in your weakest moments, I never once stopped calling you worthy of love. The enemy tried convincing you that your slow season meant failure. But slow does not mean forgotten. Hidden does not mean abandoned. And delayed does not mean denied. Some of the greatest miracles begin quietly. Before dawn arrives, the sky still looks dark. Before harvest appears, the soil still looks ordinary. Before restoration becomes visible, healing begins underneath the surface. And healing has already begun inside you. That anxiety you have been carrying does not need to control your future. That fear does not get the final word. That disappointment does not define the ending of your story. You are still becoming. You are still growing. You are still being led. And although you cannot fully see the outcome yet, movement has already started. I need you to stop measuring your life against everybody else. Stop comparing your journey to people who are walking a completely different road. Comparison has been stealing your peace. You keep looking at somebody else's timing while ignoring the work I am doing in your own life. Stay focused on your assignment. Stay faithful in small things. Stay present in the season you are in. Because the future you are praying for is being shaped through the ordinary choices you make every single day. Every time you choose forgiveness over bitterness, something grows. Every time you choose patience over anger, something grows. Every time you choose faith over fear, something grows. Even now, while you listen to these words, hope is quietly being restored inside your spirit. And this hope is not fragile. It is rooted in the truth that I do not abandon the people I begin working in. I finish what I start. So breathe again. Slow down for a moment. Release the pressure to have everything figured out immediately. You do not need to force your future into existence. You do not need to panic every time the timeline looks different than expected. You do not need to carry tomorrow before it arrives. I am already present in the future you are afraid of, and I will meet you there with the same faithfulness that carried you this far. If these words are reaching a weary place inside your heart, type, "I will keep going" in the comments. Let that sentence become your declaration for this season. And stay with this message until the very end, because what I am about to speak into your life through this series will help you walk through discouragement, delay, fear, exhaustion, disappointment, and uncertainty with a stronger spirit. You are not watching this by accident. There is a reason these words found you today. And if this message brought peace into your heart, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who has been silently struggling. And if these words genuinely encouraged you and you feel happy receiving them, you can also support this ministry through the link below, so these messages can continue reaching tired hearts across the world. The season you thought was empty is not empty. Something holy has been growing underneath it the entire time. There were nights when you believed you were walking through life completely alone. You prayed, you waited, you searched for answers. And when the answers did not arrive the way you expected, silence started becoming frightening to you. You thought, my silence meant absence. You thought the quietness meant distance. You thought the delay meant I stopped listening. But I never left you in the darkness. Not for one moment. Even during the seasons when your faith felt weak, I was still holding your life together behind the scenes. Even when your heart felt tired of hoping, I was still guiding your steps around dangers you never saw. You have survived moments that should have broken you completely. And the reason you are still here is because my hand remained on your life even when you could not feel it. There are things I protected you from that you still do not know about. Doors you cried over that would have destroyed your peace. Relationships you begged to keep that would have emptied your spirit. Opportunities that looked perfect from a distance but carried hidden sorrow inside them. You judged the season by what you lost, but heaven judged the season by what was preserved. You thought you were being ignored. Meanwhile, I was protecting your future. My child, some of the deepest forms of love look quiet while they are happening. A mother watches over her sleeping child without speaking. A shepherd guards the sheep during the night while the sheep remain unaware. And many times I was guarding you in silence while you mistook my quietness for abandonment. I saw every tear that fell onto your pillow. I heard the prayers you whispered too softly for anyone else to hear. I watched you carry burdens you never fully explained to the people around you. And I know there were moments when disappointment slowly convinced you to stop expecting good things. You became afraid to hope too much, because life had already hurt you enough times. So you started preparing yourself for more disappointment before anything even happened. You smiled carefully. You loved carefully. You trusted carefully, because pain taught you to expect loss. But I did not create your heart to live trapped inside fear. I created your heart to live with peace. Not the kind of peace that depends on perfect circumstances, the deeper kind, the kind that remains steady even while storms pass overhead. And that peace begins when you stop believing every delay means disaster. There are seasons where I intentionally slow things down because your soul needs healing more than speed. You kept asking me to move faster while your spirit was quietly exhausted. You wanted immediate answers while your inner life was struggling to breathe under pressure. So instead of rushing you into another overwhelming season, I allowed you to pause. And you called the pause failure. But it was recovery. But it was restoration. You called it loneliness. But it was a season where I was teaching you to hear my voice more clearly than the noise around you. The world trained you to believe productivity determines worth. So when life slowed down, you started feeling useless. But your value never depended on constant performance. You do not have to earn the right to be loved by me. You do not have to prove your worth through exhaustion. You do not have to destroy yourself, trying to keep everybody happy while neglecting your own soul. Some of you listening right now are emotionally drained because you spent years carrying responsibilities nobody helped you carry. You became the strong one for everybody else, the dependable one, the helper, the encourager, the listener, the one who stayed calm while everybody else fell apart. But while you were busy holding everybody together, nobody noticed you were quietly falling apart inside. And still, you kept going. Still, you kept showing up. Still, you kept loving people through your own pain. I saw all of it. I saw the strength nobody thanked you for. I saw the sacrifices nobody acknowledged. I saw the prayers you prayed for other people while secretly needing comfort yourself. And I need you to understand this clearly. Your exhaustion does not make you weak. It makes you human. Even the strongest hearts need rest. Even faithful people become tired sometimes. Even good people cry in private. Stop punishing yourself for being overwhelmed. Stop feeling ashamed for needing healing. Stop believing you failed me simply because you became weary. Weariness is not failure. Giving up completely on your soul is the danger. That is why I brought you here today. To remind you that hope still exists beyond this season. To remind you that your story is not ending in darkness. To remind you that light still reaches people who thought they had been forgotten. The enemy keeps trying to convince you that nothing will change, that things will always feel this heavy, that joy belongs to everybody except you. But those lies lose power the moment you stop agreeing with them. Your future has not been canceled. Your purpose has not disappeared. Your life is not ruined because the road became difficult. Some of the strongest people you admire today were shaped in hidden battles nobody witnessed. Strength is not built in easy seasons. It is built in moments where quitting looked easier than continuing. And yet, you kept walking. You kept breathing. You kept trying again. That matters more than you realize. You are closer to breakthrough than your emotions currently understand. Not because life suddenly became perfect, but because your spirit is becoming stronger than the fear that once controlled you. And strength changes everything. A fearful heart sees closed doors everywhere, but a healed heart begins recognizing possibility again. That is what I am restoring inside you now. The ability to hope again. The ability to trust again. The ability to wake up without immediately expecting disappointment. Do not rush this process. Healing rarely happens all at once. Sunrise happens gradually. Winter leaves slowly. And wounded hearts recover one layer at a time. Be patient with yourself while I rebuild you. You are not behind. You are becoming. And one day the very season you cried through will become the testimony that helps somebody else survive theirs. Your pain will not be wasted. Your waiting will not be wasted. Your prayers will not be wasted. I am still writing beauty into places where you currently only see confusion. So, tonight, breathe deeply again. Release the pressure to understand everything immediately. You do not need all the answers. before taking the next step. Sometimes faith simply means trusting me, while the road remains unclear. And I have never abandoned those who kept walking with me through the dark. If you still believe light is coming into your life, type, "I trust your timing," in the comments. Let that sentence become your reminder whenever fear tries speaking louder than faith. And stay until the end of this series, because these words are going to help strengthen your heart through uncertainty, emotional battles, waiting seasons, and hidden struggles that nobody else fully understands. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. And you are not walking through this darkness alone. The light is already moving toward you. There were tears you never let anybody see. Not because they were small, but because you became tired of explaining pain people could not fully understand. You learned how to cry quietly. You learned how to smile while your heart felt heavy. You learned how to continue functioning while carrying sadness nobody around you noticed. And after a while, you started believing your suffering had no purpose at all. But listen to me carefully tonight. Your tears were never meaningless. Not one of them. Every tear carried a story. Every tear carried weight. Every tear carried a prayer your mouth could not fully speak. I saw the nights you stared at the ceiling, asking questions you were too exhausted to say out loud. I saw the disappointment you buried beneath responsibility. I saw the heartbreak you tried to hide so nobody would worry about you. And I never once looked away from your pain. My child, some tears come from grief. Some come from betrayal. Some come from loneliness. Some come from exhaustion after carrying too much for too long. And some tears come from trying your hardest while life still refuses to move the way you hoped. You kept asking why this season hurt so deeply. Because pain changes people, but not always negatively. There is a kind of wisdom that only suffering can teach. There is a depth of compassion that only broken hearts learn how to carry. There is a tenderness formed inside people who understand what it feels like to need comfort themselves. And although you would never have chosen this road willingly, I have been growing strength inside you through every difficult moment. Not harshness, not bitterness, strength. The kind of strength that stays soft, the kind that still knows how to love after disappointment, the kind that still chooses kindness after betrayal, the kind that still believes healing is possible after heartbreak. That strength is rare, and it is growing inside you now. The world has taught many people to become cold after pain, to stop trusting, to stop caring, to stop hoping. But I did not create your heart to become permanently hardened by suffering. I created your heart to heal. And healing begins when you stop believing your tears were proof of weakness. Tears are not weakness. Sometimes tears are evidence that your heart survived seasons that should have destroyed it. You think strength means never crying, but true strength is continuing forward, even while tears fall. You survived days that felt impossible. You carried burdens heavier than anybody realized. You fought thoughts nobody knew you were battling, and still you kept going. That matters more than you understand. Some people gave up on themselves long ago, but you are still here, still listening, still searching for hope, still trying to believe tomorrow can become better than yesterday. And heaven sees that fight inside you. There were moments you almost stopped praying because disappointment made prayer feel painful. You became afraid to hope too much, afraid to trust too deeply, afraid to expect anything beautiful because loss had already visited your life enough times. So you began protecting your heart by lowering your expectations. But lowering your expectations also lowered your joy. And slowly, you started surviving instead of truly living. That is not the life I created you for. I did not create you merely to endure existence. I created you to experience peace, purpose, connection, healing. And although this season has been painful, it is not permanent. Pain speaks loudly while it lasts, but pain does not get the final word over your future. There is still life ahead of you that will make sense of this season. There are still moments of joy your heart has not experienced yet. There are still prayers unfolding behind the scenes while you assume nothing is happening. The seed beneath the soil always looks invisible before it finally rises. And your healing has already started underneath the surface. You keep waiting to feel completely different overnight. But restoration often happens slowly. A sunrise does not appear all at once. The darkness gradually loses its grip. And the same is happening inside your soul right now. Little by little, strength is returning. Little by little, peace is returning. Little by little, hope is returning. Even if you cannot fully feel it yet, stop speaking over your future as though sorrow will last forever. Stop calling yourself broken beyond repair. Stop deciding your story is over simply because this chapter became painful. You are not ruined. You are recovering. You are not forgotten. You are being rebuilt. And one day the wisdom born from this season will help somebody else survive theirs. That is how healing multiplies. The comfort you receive becomes comfort you eventually give away. The strength you gain becomes strength you later share. And the compassion formed through your tears becomes a shelter for people who feel alone. Your suffering has not been empty. Even now, something sacred is growing from it. I know you became tired. I know disappointment has worn your heart thin. I know there are questions you still do not fully understand. But trust me in this. I can still bring beauty from broken places. I can still create peace inside exhausted hearts. I can still restore joy in people who forgot what joy even feels like. Nothing is too damaged for me to heal. Not your future. Not your heart. Not your faith. Not your life. There are viewers listening right now who secretly believe they are too emotionally exhausted to recover. But recovery is already beginning. Not because life suddenly became easy, but because your heart is finally learning that it does not need to carry everything alone anymore. You were never designed to survive by yourself. That pressure was crushing you. And tonight, I am asking you to release some of it. Release the need to understand everything immediately. Release the pressure to fix every problem overnight. Release the fear that tells you healing must happen instantly, or it is not real. Slow healing is still healing. Quiet progress is still progress. And unseen growth is still growth. The tears you cried in private were not ignored by heaven. Every late-night prayer was heard. Every moment you almost gave up was seen. Every silent battle mattered. You are far more loved than you realize, and far more held than you currently feel. So tonight, stop calling yourself abandoned. Stop believing darkness means absence. Even in your hardest moments, I remain near. Closer than your fear, closer than your sorrow, closer than the hopelessness trying to convince you nothing will ever change. Things can change. You can heal. Peace can return. Joy can grow again. And your future still contains beauty you have not seen yet. If you are choosing faith even while hurting, comment, "I am still standing," and stay with this series until the end, because these words are going to help strengthen your heart through grief, disappointment, waiting seasons, emotional exhaustion, and the quiet battles nobody else fully sees. You are not falling apart unnoticed. Your tears were never wasted. You have been trying to survive tomorrow before tomorrow even arrives. That is why your mind feels exhausted. That is why your chest feels heavy sometimes, for no visible reason. That is why peace has felt distant even during moments when nothing dangerous was happening around you. Your thoughts have been running ahead of your life. You keep trying to predict outcomes, trying to prepare for every possible disappointment, trying to solve problems that have not even happened yet. And little by little, anxiety convinced you that constant worry was the same thing as responsibility. But worry has never protected your future. It only steals strength from your present. Listen carefully. You were never created to carry an entire lifetime of pressure in one moment. You were only given grace for this day. Not next year. Not 10 years from now. This day. But your mind keeps traveling into futures that do not exist yet. And then your body reacts as though those imagined fears are already happening. That is why you feel tired even when you have technically rested. Your body slept. But your mind kept fighting invisible battles all night long. My child, there are people listening right now whose hearts have become trapped inside cycles of overthinking. You replay conversations repeatedly. You imagine worst-case scenarios before situations even unfold. You prepare yourself emotionally for disasters that never actually arrive. And because fear has spoken loudly for so long, your nervous system forgot what calm feels like. But fear is not your master. I am, and I did not create you to live every day expecting tragedy. I created you to live with trust, not blind denial, not pretending difficulties do not exist, but trust that you do not walk through difficulties alone. There is a difference. Some of you have been carrying pressure nobody else fully understands. Financial pressure, family pressure, emotional pressure, pressure to succeed, pressure to heal quickly, pressure to keep everybody around you happy while your own soul quietly falls apart inside. And because you became used to survival mode, rest started feeling unfamiliar to you. Even peaceful moments became uncomfortable because your mind stayed prepared for something bad to happen next. But constant alertness is exhausting your spirit. You cannot heal while living in permanent panic. You cannot hear my voice clearly while anxiety screams louder than peace. And tonight, I need you to slow down. Not forever, just long enough to breathe again, long enough to remember that you are human, long enough to stop carrying tomorrow before it arrives. The future does not need your fear to function properly. The sun will still rise tomorrow without your panic. The world will continue moving without you destroying your peace, trying to control every outcome. Some things are simply beyond your ability to manage. And strangely enough, that truth is not meant to scare you. It is meant to free you. Because the burden of controlling everything was never yours to carry. You keep trying to hold your entire future in your hands, and your hands were never built for that weight. That is why anxiety keeps crushing you. You are carrying responsibilities your soul was never designed to hold alone. You want guarantees. You want certainty. You want immediate answers before taking the next step. But faith does not grow through certainty. Faith grows when you continue walking, even while some questions remain unanswered. And I know uncertainty frightens you, because uncertainty makes you feel vulnerable. But vulnerability is not weakness. It is honesty. It is the place where trust finally begins. You have spent so much time trying to protect yourself emotionally that you forgot how to rest emotionally. You keep waiting for every problem to disappear before allowing yourself peace. But peace does not come from perfect circumstances. Peace comes from remembering who walks beside you through imperfect circumstances. Even now, while you listen to these words, your breathing is becoming slower. Your shoulders are relaxing slightly. And your soul is remembering something fear tried making you forget. You do not have to solve your entire life tonight. You do not need to force every answer into existence immediately. You do not need to know every detail of the future before taking one faithful step forward. One step is enough. One prayer is enough. One day at a time is enough. The pressure you placed on yourself has been too heavy. You expected yourself to heal instantly, to succeed instantly, to recover instantly, to understand everything instantly. But healing takes time. Growth takes time. Restoration takes time. And there is no shame in becoming slowly. Nature itself grows gradually. The strongest trees grow over years. Seasons change patiently. Sunrise unfolds little by little, and you are allowed to heal the same way. Stop punishing yourself for not being fully recovered yet. Stop speaking to yourself with cruelty every time you struggle emotionally. You would show compassion to others in pain. Learn to show some compassion to yourself too. The enemy wants you overwhelmed because overwhelmed people stop noticing hope. Overwhelmed people stop recognizing beauty. Overwhelmed people stop believing change is possible. That is why I am calling you back into stillness, back into trust, back into the present moment you keep abandoning while chasing fearful thoughts about the future. Look around you right now. Breathe slowly for a moment. Notice that you survived every difficult day that once convinced you life was over. You survived heartbreaks. You survived disappointments. You survived lonely seasons. You survived prayers that took longer than expected. And the same strength that carried you through those seasons will continue carrying you forward now. I have not abandoned you halfway through your story. I am still guiding you, even in moments where the road feels unclear, even in seasons where emotions feel unstable, even when fear keeps trying to rewrite your future before it happens. Fear is loud, but it is not always truthful. Many of the things you worried about never happened, and many blessings arrived in ways you never predicted. That is because your perspective is limited. But mine is not. I can see the full road, while you only see today. So stop trying to carry the entire map. Just walk with me one step at a time. Tomorrow does not need to be carried tonight. Release it. The future is safer in my hands than in your constant overthinking. If you are ready to release your worries today, type, "I release the fear" in the comments. And stay until the end of this series, because these words are going to help strengthen your spirit, calm your mind, and guide your heart through uncertainty, exhaustion, waiting, and emotional battles that have quietly drained your peace for too long. You are not losing your mind. You are learning to trust again. You keep looking at your life and calling it delayed, but heaven is calling it developing. You keep standing at the edge of your season asking why nothing seems to be changing fast enough, why the answers still feel distant, why the doors have not opened yet, why the breakthrough has not arrived in the dramatic way you imagined. But listen to me carefully tonight. Not every miracle enters your life loudly. Some blessings arrive quietly. Some answers unfold gradually. Some harvests begin so gently that you almost miss them while waiting for something bigger. You have been expecting thunder, while I have been sending sunrise. You have been waiting for one massive sign, while I have been surrounding your life with smaller signs of movement. A little more strength than last month. A little more peace than before. A little more hope, returning after a long season of heaviness. Those changes matter. Do not ignore them simply because they arrived quietly. The enemy wants you to overlook progress unless it appears dramatically. But growth often begins subtly. A field does not transform overnight. The roots deepen first. The soil shifts first. The unseen work begins long before the visible harvest rises above the ground. And the same is true for your life right now. You keep asking me for immediate evidence. Meanwhile, transformation has already begun underneath the surface. My child, there are people listening right now who secretly feel discouraged because they thought life would look different by now. You imagined yourself happier, more settled, more successful, more healed, more certain about your future. And because reality did not match the timeline in your head, disappointment quietly started shaping the way you see yourself. But your life is not behind. You are not failing because your journey looks slower than somebody else's. Fruit grows differently in every season. Some harvests come quickly. Others require deeper preparation. But slow growth is still growth, and delayed fruit is still fruit. Stop insulting the season that is developing you. Stop speaking hopelessly over the ground where new things are already forming. You cannot keep calling yourself forgotten while I am still actively working inside your story. Even now, while you think nothing significant is happening, doors are quietly aligning. People are being positioned. Lessons are being learned. Strength is being formed. Wisdom is growing. And your future is being prepared in ways you cannot fully see yet. The problem is not that nothing is happening. The problem is that you keep measuring progress only through visible outcomes. But some of the greatest breakthroughs begin internally before they ever appear externally. Peace arrives before the visible answer. Strength develops before the opportunity. Wisdom forms before responsibility increases. And many times, I prepare the person before I release the blessing. Because blessings without preparation often become burdens. That relationship you keep praying for, that opportunity, that healing, that open door, that restored joy, you assume the waiting means denial. But what if the waiting is preparation instead? What if this season is not proof that your future disappeared? What if this season is actually protecting the very thing you prayed for? You do not see the full picture yet, but I do. And I know exactly how to bring the right things into your life at the right time. There are moments when you become frustrated because life feels repetitive. Wake up, work, handle responsibilities, fight silent emotional battles, sleep, repeat. And because the days feel ordinary, you assume nothing meaningful is happening. But ordinary days build extraordinary lives. Consistency matters more than occasional excitement. The small decisions you make daily are shaping your future more than you realize. Every time you choose patience over anger, something grows. Every time you choose faith instead of panic, something grows. Every time you continue moving forward, despite discouragement, something grows. Do not underestimate the power of staying faithful during ordinary seasons. Most people quit because they become addicted to visible results. But true maturity learns how to continue planting even before harvest appears. That is the kind of strength being built inside you now. Not temporary excitement, enduring faithfulness. There are blessings coming into your life that require stability, wisdom, patience, and emotional maturity to sustain them. And that is why this season has been stretching you. You thought you were only waiting for change, but change was also being built inside you. The person listening to these words today is not the same person you were a year ago. You have survived things that changed you. You have learned lessons that humbled you. You have gained wisdom through pain. And although some of those lessons hurt deeply, they prepared you to carry future blessings differently than before. Nothing has been wasted. Not the heartbreak, not the disappointment, not the waiting, not the confusion. Even your painful seasons are becoming part of the wisdom that will guide your future. You are growing stronger than the fear that once controlled you. Stronger than the insecurity that once silenced you. Stronger than the hopelessness that once convinced you to stop expecting good things. That growth matters, and heaven sees it clearly. The harvest is often closer than the exhausted heart realizes. Because exhausted people stop recognizing movement. Discouraged people overlook signs of progress. And wounded people become so focused on surviving that they forget healing is already happening. But healing is happening. Growth is happening. Movement is happening. Even now. Do not let frustration blind you to the small mercies surrounding your life. A moment of peace. An unexpected opportunity. A kind conversation. A burden becoming lighter. A little more emotional stability than before. These are not meaningless details. These are reminders that life is still moving forward. And one day you will realize the season began changing quietly long before you fully recognized it. That is how many harvests arrive. Not suddenly, gradually, softly, patiently. The tree changes before the fruit becomes visible, and your life is changing too. So stop standing over your future, demanding instant proof that everything will work out. Trust the process you cannot fully see yet. Trust the growth happening underneath the surface. Trust the timing you do not fully understand. Because I am still guiding your story, and I have not forgotten a single prayer you place before me. If you believe your season is turning, type, "My harvest is coming," in the comments. And stay with this series until the very end, because these words are being planted into weary hearts to help strengthen your faith, restore your peace, and guide you through seasons of waiting, discouragement, uncertainty, and emotional exhaustion. And if these messages are helping your heart, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs encouragement tonight. And if these words genuinely bring peace into your life and you feel blessed hearing them, You can also support this ministry through the link below, so more people carrying silent battles can continue receiving hope through these messages. The season is changing more than you realize, and the harvest is closer than you think. There are wounds inside you that nobody fully knows about. Not because people never asked, but because some pain became too difficult to explain. So, you carried it quietly. You learned how to function while hurting. You learned how to keep conversation short when your heart felt heavy. You learned how to smile while secretly wondering whether you would ever truly feel whole again. And after enough disappointment, enough regret, enough heartbreak, enough mistakes, you slowly started believing something dangerous. You started believing you were too damaged to fully recover, too broken to heal, too far gone to become peaceful again. But listen to me carefully tonight. You are not too broken for me to restore. Not your heart, not your future, not your mind, not your life. There is nothing shattered in you that I cannot rebuild with patience, mercy, and love. The world often treats broken people like ruined things. But I do not. I restore what people give up on. I breathe life into places others call hopeless. I heal wounds people assume will remain permanent forever. And I have not stopped working on you simply because your season became painful. My child, some of the deepest damage inside you did not happen all at once. It happened slowly, one disappointment at a time, one betrayal at a time, one harsh word at a time, one unanswered prayer at a time, until eventually you became emotionally exhausted without even realizing how heavy your soul had become. There are people listening right now who became experts at hiding pain. You know how to appear strong. You know how to encourage everybody else. You know how to laugh during conversations while silently carrying sadness underneath your smile. But when the room becomes quiet, your thoughts become heavy again. Memories return. Regrets return. Fear returns. And suddenly, the loneliness feels louder than everything around you. I know those moments. I have been beside you during every single one of them. Even during the nights you questioned your own worth. Even during the moments you looked in the mirror, struggling to recognize yourself emotionally. Even during the days when shame convinced you your mistakes defined your future. I stayed. And I am still here now. Stop speaking over your life as though your story is permanently ruined. Stop calling yourself worthless because of seasons you survived imperfectly. Stop believing one painful chapter erased your purpose. Pain may have changed you, but it did not cancel your value. You are still deeply loved, still chosen, still capable of healing, still capable of joy, still capable of becoming someone stronger, wiser, calmer, and more whole than you currently feel. The enemy wants wounded people to believe healing is impossible, because hopeless people stop trying. Hopeless people stop dreaming. Hopeless people stop expecting peace to return. But hopelessness has lied to you long enough. You are not beyond restoration, and your future is not trapped inside your past mistakes. Some of you are carrying guilt that has followed you for years. Guilt over words spoken in anger. Guilt over opportunities missed. Guilt over relationships damaged. Guilt over choices you wish you could undo. And secretly you keep punishing yourself emotionally because you believe suffering longer somehow earns forgiveness. But punishment does not heal the soul. Grace does. You cannot hate yourself into becoming whole. You cannot shame yourself into peace. Healing begins when you finally allow mercy to reach the places guilt has controlled for too long. You keep replaying old failures in your mind as though your worst moments are the complete definition of who you are. But you are more than your lowest season, more than your worst decision, more than the chapter you are most ashamed of. Do not reduce your entire identity to moments that wounded you. There is still goodness inside you, still purpose inside you, still beauty inside you that pain could not destroy. And I need you to stop speaking to yourself with the same cruelty that once hurt you. Some of the voices that damaged your confidence years ago are still echoing inside your thoughts today. People who made you feel small, people who made you feel unwanted, people who made you feel difficult to love. And over time, their words became your inner voice. But those voices were never mine. I do not speak to you with condemnation. I correct with love. I restore with patience. I guide with compassion. And even now, while you listen to these words, I am trying to teach your heart how to breathe without fear again. Healing is not instant. That is important for you to understand. You keep becoming discouraged because you expected recovery to happen overnight. But deep wounds require patient restoration. A broken bone heals slowly. A damaged heart heals gradually. And a weary spirit learns peace one step at a time. Be patient with your progress. You are rebuilding parts of yourself that carried pain for years. That process takes time. Do not compare your healing journey to somebody else's timeline. Some people hide wounds better than you. That does not mean they are stronger. And some people appear healed while still bleeding internally. So stop measuring your recovery against appearances. Focus on becoming whole, slowly and honestly. Even now, growth is happening inside you. You react differently than before. You think differently than before. You are becoming more aware of what drains your peace, more aware of what damages your spirit, more aware of the environments and relationships that pull you away from calm. That awareness is part of healing too. You are learning to protect your soul instead of constantly abandoning yourself, trying to keep everybody else comfortable. And that matters. The version of you emerging from this season will carry wisdom your old self did not yet possess. Not because suffering itself was good, but because I know how to bring growth even from painful seasons. One day you will look back and realize you survived things that once convinced you life was over. You survived heartbreak. You survived disappointment. You survived loneliness. You survived confusion. And you are still standing here now. That is proof that restoration already started long before you fully recognized it. You are stronger than the darkness that tried convincing you to quit. And you are more loved than your pain allowed you to believe. So tonight, stop calling yourself permanently broken. Stop deciding your future based on your worst moments. Stop assuming peace belongs to everybody except you. Healing belongs to you too. Joy belongs to you too. Rest belongs to you too. And I am still leading you toward all of it. If you believe restoration is possible for your life, type, "I receive new beginnings" in the comments. And stay with this series until the end, because these words are here to help restore weary hearts, strengthen broken spirits, calm anxious minds, and remind hurting people that healing is still possible, no matter how heavy life has felt. You are not too broken for restoration. You are already being rebuilt. You keep asking me for certainty before taking the next step. You want every answer before the journey begins. You want guarantees before trusting again. You want visible proof before believing something good can still happen in your life. But faith has never grown through certainty. Faith grows when you continue walking, even while some answers remain hidden. And I know that makes you uncomfortable, because uncertainty has frightened you for a long time. You have been hurt before, disappointed before, let down before. So now, your heart keeps trying to protect itself by demanding reassurance about everything ahead of you. But there are some things you will only understand after you move forward, not before. My child, walking by faith does not mean pretending fear does not exist. It means refusing to let fear become the voice that controls your direction. There are people listening right now who feel stuck between hope and hesitation. Part of you wants to believe better days are possible, but another part of you is terrified of being disappointed again. So you stay emotionally guarded, careful, reserved, afraid to trust too deeply because pain taught you how quickly life can change. But listen to me carefully tonight. If you spend your entire life waiting until fear completely disappears, you will remain trapped in the same place forever. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is continuing forward while fear whispers in the background. And that is exactly what you have been doing more than you realize. You think you are weak because you still feel anxious sometimes. But weak people do not continue fighting for peace. Weak people do not keep showing up after heartbreak. Weak people do not continue believing healing is possible after disappointment. The fact that you are still here trying again is evidence of strength already growing inside you. Even now, while you feel uncertain about your future, your spirit is becoming stronger than the fear that once controlled your thoughts. And strength changes people. A fearful heart constantly expects disaster, but a growing heart slowly learns how to expect possibility again. That is what I am rebuilding inside you now. The ability to trust again. The ability to move forward again. The ability to believe your future is not trapped inside your painful past. Some of you have been praying for direction while secretly resisting movement. You want clarity without surrender. You want guidance without risk. You want growth without discomfort. But transformation requires trust. A seed cannot become a tree while remaining closed forever. At some point, it must break open beneath the soil. And breaking open feels uncomfortable. Growth often does. The old version of you cannot follow me into every future season I prepared for you. Certain fears must be released. Certain habits must change. Certain thought patterns must be surrendered. And I know change feels frightening when familiar pain became more comfortable than unfamiliar growth. But staying trapped in fear is exhausting your soul. You are not created to live permanently imprisoned by worry. You are created to move forward, to grow, to heal, to become. There were seasons when you thought your faith was failing simply because your emotions felt unstable. But faith is not measured by emotional perfection. Faith is measured by willingness to keep walking. And you kept walking. Even during the days you felt numb. Even during the nights you felt uncertain. Even during the moments your prayers sounded tired. You still reached toward me. That matters more than you realize. Stop believing faith means never struggling emotionally. Even strong people become weary sometimes. Even faithful hearts experience doubt. Even hopeful people cry in private. Do not condemn yourself for being human. I already understand your weakness completely, and I still love you fully. You keep trying to become perfect before allowing yourself peace. But peace does not belong only to perfect people. Peace belongs to people willing to trust me one step at a time. And tonight, I am asking you to stop demanding certainty about your entire future before taking today's next faithful step. You do not need the whole map tonight. You only need enough faith for the next step. The future is not built all at once. It is built daily, quietly, patiently, one decision at a time, one act of courage at a time, one surrendered fear at a time. And every time you choose trust over panic, your spirit becomes stronger. There are blessings waiting ahead of you that fear keeps trying to talk you out of receiving. New relationships, new peace, new purpose, new opportunities, new healing. But fear keeps whispering the same old lies. What if things go wrong again? What if you fail again? What if disappointment returns? And because those thoughts became familiar, you started treating fear like wisdom. But fear is not always wisdom. Sometimes fear is simply woundedness, trying to protect itself from future pain. And woundedness should not become the leader of your life. I should, because I can see what you cannot. I know which doors are safe. I know which paths contain growth. I know which delays are protecting you rather than punishing you. And I know the future is not nearly as hopeless as your fear keeps suggesting. You are becoming stronger than your old thought patterns. Stronger than your overthinking. Stronger than your insecurity. Stronger than the voice that keeps telling you nothing good will happen. And although the process feels slow sometimes, transformation is still happening. You no longer react exactly the same way you used to. You no longer collapse emotionally as quickly as before. You no longer believe every fearful thought immediately. That growth matters. Do not overlook small progress simply because it arrived gradually. Even mountains are climbed one step at a time. Even healing happens one layer at a time. And even faith develops slowly through repeated trust. One day you will look back and realize this season taught you how to depend on me more deeply than comfort ever could. Not because suffering itself was beautiful, but because your soul learned where true stability comes from. Not from perfect circumstances, not from constant control, but from walking closely with me regardless of circumstances. That kind of faith creates unshakable peace, and peace is growing inside you now. So stop calling yourself weak because the journey feels difficult. Difficult roads still lead forward, and you are still moving, even if the steps feel smaller than before, even if progress feels slower than expected. You are still becoming the person you were created to be. If you are learning to trust again, type "Lead me forward" in the comments. And stay with this series until the end, because these words are here to strengthen your faith, calm your fears, heal your heart, and help you keep walking through uncertainty without losing hope in the middle of the journey. You do not need perfect certainty to move forward. You only need enough faith for the next step. You keep asking why this season has lasted so long, why the answers feel delayed, why the breakthrough has not arrived yet, why the road still feels uncertain after all the prayers you have prayed. And because the waiting became longer than expected, discouragement slowly started whispering dangerous things into your heart. Maybe nothing will change. Maybe the door will never open. Maybe the promise was never meant for you. Maybe you waited for nothing. But listen to me carefully tonight. Waiting does not mean I stopped working. And delay does not mean denial. Some of the most important work I do in a person's life happens during seasons where nothing appears to move on the surface. Because waiting seasons build things inside you that instant blessings never could. Patience, wisdom, endurance, humility, discernment, depth. The world celebrates speed, but heaven values stability. And stability takes time to build. My child, many people want the fruit without the roots. They want success without maturity, influence without wisdom, blessings without preparation. But quick growth without deep foundation collapses under pressure. That is why certain seasons in your life slowed down. Not because I forgot you, because I was strengthening you. You keep thinking the waiting season is empty, but the waiting season is full of unseen development. A seed beneath the soil looks inactive to people standing above the ground, but underneath, roots are stretching. Strength is forming. Life is preparing itself for the season ahead. And the same thing is happening inside you now. You are becoming stronger in ways you cannot fully measure yet. You are learning things your old self did not understand. You are developing discernment about people, environments, habits, and choices that once drained your peace. You are becoming more emotionally aware, more spiritually grounded, more careful with your energy, more protective of your soul. That growth matters. Do not overlook internal growth simply because external results feel delayed. There are people listening right now who secretly feel frustrated with themselves. You thought you would already be further ahead by now. You thought healing would happen faster. You thought your life would feel more settled. You thought the pain would already be gone. But healing rarely follows the timeline your emotions expect, and growth rarely happens without discomfort. A tree grows quietly. A river carves stone slowly, and even sunrise arrives gradually. So stop condemning yourself because your process takes time. You are not failing because growth feels slow. Slow growth is still growth. You have survived seasons that once convinced you life was over. Do not forget that. You survived heartbreaks you thought would destroy you. You survived lonely nights. You survived confusion. You survived disappointments. You survived emotional battles nobody else even knew you were fighting. And although those seasons exhausted you, they also strengthened you. Not in a harsh way, in a deeper way. Your compassion became deeper. Your wisdom became deeper. Your prayers became more honest. Your understanding of people became softer. And your dependence on me became more real than before. Pain changed you. But it did not only wound you, it also matured you. There are lessons learned in waiting seasons that cannot be learned any other way. People who always receive immediate answers often remain emotionally shallow. But people who learn how to trust during uncertainty develop unshakable depth. And depth is being built inside you now. The enemy keeps trying to convince you that waiting means wasting time. But waiting is not wasting when growth is happening underneath the surface. And growth is happening. Even now, you do not react exactly the same way anymore. You no longer trust every person immediately. You no longer ignore your emotional exhaustion completely. You no longer abandon your peace, trying to satisfy everybody around you. That awareness came through difficult seasons. And although the lessons hurt, they protected your future. There are blessings ahead of you that require wisdom your old self did not yet possess. That is why this season became necessary. You thought you were only waiting for things to change around you, but I was also changing things within you. Because future doors require future maturity, and maturity is often developed slowly, quietly, patiently. You keep asking for immediate movement while heaven keeps building long-term strength. And long-term strength matters more than temporary excitement. Temporary excitement disappears quickly. But inner stability carries people through storms. That is what I am building inside you now. A steady spirit, a calmer heart, a deeper faith, a stronger mind. You may not fully recognize the transformation yet because growth feels ordinary while it is happening. But one day you will look back and realize this season reshaped your entire life. Not because it was easy, but because it taught you how to keep walking without constantly depending on visible reassurance. And that kind of faith creates lasting peace. Some of you became discouraged because you expected the waiting season to feel spiritual all the time. But many waiting seasons simply feel ordinary. Wake up, handle responsibilities, pray tired prayers, fight anxious thoughts, continue moving forward, repeat. And because the days feel repetitive, you assume nothing meaningful is happening, but meaningful things are happening. Every quiet act of faithfulness matters. Every time you continue instead of quitting, something grows. Every time you choose patience instead of panic, something grows. Every time you keep trusting despite uncertainty, something grows. Do not underestimate the power of remaining planted during difficult seasons. Many people leave the field too early because they become tired of waiting for visible results. But harvest often arrives after the season that tempted people to quit. That is why endurance matters. And you have endured more than you realize. Even now, while listening to these words, your spirit is becoming steadier. Your mind is becoming calmer. Your heart is learning that life does not need to be rushed in order to become meaningful. You do not need to force every answer into existence immediately. You do not need to compare your timeline to everybody around you. Your story is unfolding differently because your purpose is different. Trust the timing you do not yet understand. Trust the process you cannot fully see. Trust the growth happening beneath the surface. Because one day the very season you called frustrating will become the season you thank me for most. If you are choosing patience instead of quitting, comment, "I will not quit." And stay with this series until the end, because these words are here to strengthen weary hearts, calm anxious minds, restore hope during waiting seasons, and help you continue walking forward even when life feels slower than expected. You are not stuck. You are being prepared. There were moments when you quietly questioned whether your life still mattered. Not because you stopped breathing, not because you stopped existing, but because disappointment slowly drained the sense of meaning from your heart. You kept showing up for life while secretly wondering if any of your effort was making a difference at all. You looked at your unfinished goals, your unanswered prayers, your delayed dreams, your exhausting routines, and somewhere deep inside, hopelessness began whispering that maybe your life would never become anything meaningful. But listen to me carefully tonight. Your purpose did not disappear because your season became difficult, and your value did not decrease because your progress feels slower than expected. You are still deeply significant, even now, even here, even in the middle of uncertainty. My child, purpose is not always loud. Many people think purpose only exists in huge achievements, public recognition, or dramatic success stories. But some of the most meaningful lives change the world quietly, through kindness, through patience, through presence, through small acts of love repeated consistently over time. A mother comforting her exhausted child, a worker showing integrity when nobody notices, a friend staying beside somebody during grief, a stranger offering encouragement at the exact right moment. These things matter more than people realize. Heaven notices what the world overlooks. You keep measuring your life through visible accomplishments while ignoring the quiet goodness you carry every day. But purpose is often hidden inside ordinary moments. You do not need millions of people to know your name for your life to matter. You do not need constant applause to become valuable. You do not need perfect success to become meaningful. Some of the greatest impact you will ever have happens in moments you may never fully remember yourself. A conversation that gave somebody hope, a kindness that stopped somebody from giving up, a prayer spoken over somebody who felt forgotten, a moment of patience that softened another person's pain. These things ripple farther than you can currently see. The enemy wants you to believe your life is small because he wants you to stop planting goodness into the world. Discouraged people withdraw. Hopeless people stop trying. People who feel purposeless slowly stop expecting their lives to matter at all. But your life carries influence even when you cannot measure it immediately. There are people who survived because somebody like you chose kindness at the right moment. There are hearts strengthened by your presence more than you realize. And there are seeds you planted years ago that are still growing in places you cannot currently see. Stop calling your life meaningless simply because your journey looks different than somebody else's. Comparison has distorted the way you see yourself. You keep looking at other people's visible victories while ignoring the quiet strength it took for you to survive your own battles. You survived things that almost broke you emotionally. You carried burdens people never fully understood. You fought silent battles while still trying to remain kind to others. That strength matters, and heaven sees it clearly. There are viewers listening right now who feel stuck in routines that seem repetitive and unimportant. Wake up, work, handle responsibilities, rest, repeat. And because the days feel ordinary, you assume your life lacks purpose. But purpose is often built through ordinary faithfulness. A garden grows through daily care. A strong relationship grows through consistent love. A meaningful life grows through repeated small decisions made with integrity over time. Do not despise ordinary seasons. Many beautiful things are built there. You keep waiting for one dramatic moment to finally prove your life matters. But your life already matters. Right now. Not later. Not after success arrives. Not after everything becomes perfect. Now, you are valuable because I created you with intention. Not accidentally, not randomly, with intention. There is wisdom inside you that somebody else needs. There is compassion inside you that somebody else needs. There is encouragement inside you that somebody else desperately needs. Your story carries purpose even through the painful chapters, especially through the painful chapters. Because people connect deeply with honesty. They connect with those who understand suffering. They trust people who learned compassion through real struggle. And your pain has developed compassion inside you that comfort alone never could. One day, somebody will survive. because your story taught them not to give up. One day, somebody will breathe easier because your kindness reminded them goodness still exists. One day, somebody will continue forward because your words helped them hold on during a difficult season. Never underestimate what one faithful life can do. You may never fully see the impact while living it. Most seeds do not immediately reveal the harvest they will eventually become. But hidden growth is still real growth, and meaningful influence often spreads quietly. You became discouraged because you thought purpose would always feel exciting. But many purposeful seasons simply feel consistent, patient, faithful, ordinary, and yet those ordinary moments slowly shape extraordinary outcomes over time. Do not abandon your assignment simply because it currently feels small. Some of the strongest trees begin as unnoticed seeds beneath the soil, and some of the most meaningful lives begin through quiet faithfulness. Nobody applauds at first. Even now, purpose is still unfolding inside your story. You are learning lessons that will later help others. You are gaining wisdom through survival. You are becoming more compassionate through pain. You are becoming more patient through waiting. And all of that growth carries future meaning. Nothing you survived was completely wasted. Not the heartbreak, not the confusion, not the waiting season, not the loneliness, not even the mistakes. I know how to bring beauty out of broken places, and I know how to create purpose from painful seasons. So stop speaking over your future as though nothing meaningful remains ahead of you. There is still life ahead of you, still joy ahead of you, still impact ahead of you, still healing ahead of you, still purpose ahead of you. The chapter you are currently living is not the complete story. And your future still contains people you are meant to encourage, strengthen, love, and inspire through the life you continue building day by day. You matter far more than your discouragement currently allows you to believe. So breathe again tonight. Release the lie that your life is empty. Release the lie that nothing important is happening. Release the lie that your presence makes no difference. You are still needed here. And the world is still better because you exist in it. If you believe your life still carries purpose, type "My purpose remains" in the comments. And stay with this series until the end, because these words are here to strengthen weary hearts, restore hope, remind discouraged people of their value, and help you continue walking forward with faith even during uncertain seasons. Your life is not meaningless. Your purpose is still alive. There have been moments when discouragement sat on your shoulders so heavily that even simple things felt difficult. Getting out of bed felt difficult. Answering messages felt difficult. Believing things could improve felt difficult. And because the heaviness lasted longer than expected, you slowly started losing excitement about the future. Not all at once. Little by little, quietly, you stopped expecting good news. Stop looking forward to tomorrow. Stop believing your prayers could truly change anything. And without realizing it, discouragement began stealing your vision for the future. But listen to me carefully tonight. Discouragement is dangerous, not because it makes you emotional. It is dangerous because it slowly convinces you to stop hoping. And once hope disappears, people begin surviving instead of living. That is not what I created you for. I did not create you merely to endure pain until life finally ends. I created you to experience peace, purpose, growth, healing, joy, and connection, even while imperfect seasons still exist around you. My child, the enemy knows he cannot always destroy people instantly, so many times he tries exhausting them slowly instead. A little more disappointment, a little more delay, a little more emotional heaviness, until eventually the person who once believed strongly begins quietly questioning everything. That is what discouragement does. It clouds perspective, it magnifies problems, it hides progress. It convinces weary people that nothing meaningful is changing, even while transformation is already happening underneath the surface. And some of you listening tonight have become so emotionally tired that you no longer recognize how much strength you actually carry. You keep focusing on the parts of yourself that still feel wounded while ignoring how far you already came. But look at yourself honestly for a moment. You survived seasons that once convinced you life was over. You survived heartbreak. You survived loneliness. You survived fear. You survived disappointment. You survived prayers that took much longer than expected. And despite all of it, you are still here listening right now. That matters. That is not weakness. That is resilience. You think strength always looks loud, but often strength looks like continuing quietly, continuing after heartbreak, continuing after failure, continuing after disappointment, continuing while carrying emotions nobody else fully understands. And you have continued far more faithfully than you realize. Discouragement keeps telling you that because everything is not perfect yet, nothing good is happening. But that is not true. Healing is happening. Growth is happening. Wisdom is happening. Even now, you are calmer than you used to be, wiser than before, more discerning, more emotionally aware, more careful about what steals your peace. That growth matters. Do not overlook internal transformation simply because external answers still feel delayed. Many people receive quick success while remaining emotionally unstable inside. But I care about the condition of your soul more than temporary appearances, because outward success without inward peace eventually collapses. That is why I have been rebuilding you from the inside out. You became frustrated because life slowed down. But sometimes slowing down is how healing begins. A wounded body requires rest. A wounded spirit requires restoration. And exhausted hearts cannot carry healthy futures until they first recover from unhealthy seasons. Some of you have been emotionally surviving for so long that peace started feeling unfamiliar. You became used to stress, used to overthinking, used to preparing for disappointment, used to carrying pressure constantly. And because chaos became familiar, calmness almost feels uncomfortable now. But I did not create your heart to live trapped inside constant heaviness. I created you for peace, not perfect circumstances. Peace. There is a difference. Peace does not mean every problem disappears immediately. Peace means your soul no longer collapses every time uncertainty appears. And that kind of stability is growing inside you now, little by little, one layer at a time. Do not rush the process. Healing is not a competition. Growth is not a race. And your life is not behind simply because your journey looks different than somebody else's. Comparison has damaged your joy for too long. You keep measuring your progress against people walking completely different roads. But your assignment is different. Your healing is different. Your purpose is different. So stop demanding that your life unfold exactly like everyone else's. The strongest trees do not all grow at the same speed, and the same is true for people. Some seasons require deeper roots before visible fruit appears, and deeper roots are being formed inside you now. There are blessings ahead of you that require emotional maturity your old self did not yet possess. That is why this season became necessary. Not to punish you, to prepare you. The enemy wanted discouragement to convince you to quit before your breakthrough season arrived, because discouragement blinds people to how close growth actually is. Exhausted hearts stop recognizing progress. Wounded minds overlook small victories, and discouraged people become so focused on surviving that they fail to notice healing already happening. But healing is happening. Your future is still unfolding, and your story is not ending in defeat. There are still beautiful moments ahead of you that your current emotions cannot fully imagine yet. Still answered prayers, still restored joy, still peaceful mornings, still laughter returning, still purpose unfolding, still relationships healing, still opportunities opening, still strength growing. Your future has not been canceled because this chapter became difficult. Difficult chapters still belong inside meaningful stories. And one day you will realize this season taught you endurance that comfort never could. Not because suffering itself was good, but because your spirit learned how to survive storms without losing faith completely. That kind of resilience becomes unshakable over time. So tonight, stop speaking hopelessness over your future. Stop deciding your story before I finish writing it. Stop assuming discouragement is wisdom. It is not. Discouragement is exhaustion, trying to predict tomorrow through the lens of today's pain. But tomorrow is not fully written yet, and I am still moving within your life, even now, especially now. If you are refusing to give up, type "I choose hope" in the comments, and stay with this series until the very end, because these words are here to strengthen your spirit, restore your peace, rebuild your hope, and help you continue walking forward through seasons of discouragement, waiting, emotional exhaustion, and uncertainty. And if these messages are helping your heart breathe again, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who has been silently struggling. And if these words truly encourage your spirit and bring peace into your life, you can also support this ministry through the link below so these messages can continue reaching weary hearts around the world. Discouragement does not get the final word over your life. Hope still remains. There are moments when you look at your life and quietly wonder whether things will ever truly change. You look at the unfinished pieces, the delayed answers, the wounds that still ache sometimes, the dreams that still feel distant. And because the journey became longer than expected, part of you started believing the story had already reached its final chapter. But listen to me carefully tonight. Your story is not over, not even close. I am still working on your life in ways you cannot fully see yet. You keep judging the entire future based on one painful season, but one difficult chapter cannot define the whole book. A storm is not the entire climate. A night is not the entire lifetime. And a painful season is not the complete story I am writing through you. My child, some of you became emotionally exhausted because you expected healing to happen quickly. You expected clarity immediately. You expected life to make sense faster than it did. But there are seasons where understanding arrives slowly, not because I enjoy your pain, but because some things can only be learned through walking with me over time. You wanted instant answers. I was building lasting wisdom. You wanted immediate relief. I was creating deeper strength. You wanted the chapter to end, but I was still shaping the person you are becoming through the middle of it. And although the process felt uncomfortable, you are not the same person you were before this season began. Look at how much you have survived already. There were days you thought your heart would never recover. Days you thought the sadness would never lift. Days you thought the pressure would completely break you emotionally. And yet you are still here, still breathing, still listening, still hoping somewhere deep inside that better days remain possible. That matters more than you realize. The enemy wanted your exhaustion to convince you that nothing meaningful was happening anymore. Because tired people stop expecting change. Wounded people stop imagining beautiful futures. Discouraged people begin shrinking their dreams to match their pain. But your pain was never meant to become the ceiling over your future. There is still more ahead of you. More peace, more healing, more purpose, more joy, more growth, more restoration. You have not reached the end of what I planned for your life, not even close. Some of you feel frustrated because progress seems slow. You thought you would already be healed by now, already stronger, already settled, already living differently. But transformation rarely happens all at once. A river shapes stone slowly. A tree grows gradually, and hearts recover one layer at a time. Stop condemning yourself, because growth takes patience. You are rebuilding parts of your soul that carried heaviness for years. That process deserves grace, not shame. You keep focusing on what still hurts, while ignoring what has already changed. But things have changed. You react differently than before. You think differently than before. You recognize unhealthy patterns more clearly now. You protect your peace more intentionally now. You no longer believe every fearful thought immediately. That growth matters. Do not overlook quiet transformation simply because it arrived gradually. Even now, while you still have questions, your spirit is becoming steadier. And stability matters more than temporary emotional highs. The world often celebrates dramatic moments, but many of the strongest transformations happen quietly, slowly, deeply, underneath the surface, where nobody else can immediately see them. And some of the deepest work I have done in your life happened during seasons where you thought nothing was changing at all. You became more compassionate through suffering, more discerning through disappointment, more patient through waiting, more dependent on me through uncertainty. None of that growth was meaningless. None of that pain was completely wasted. I know you sometimes feel behind. You compare your life to people around you and wonder why their story seems easier, faster, clearer, happier. But comparison has distorted your perspective for too long. You are comparing your private struggles to somebody else's public appearance. And appearances rarely tell the full story. Every person carries battles unseen by others. Every person has wounds. Every person has fears. So stop deciding your worth based on how somebody else's journey looked from the outside. Your assignment is different. Your process is different. Your timing is different. And your story is unfolding differently because your purpose is unique. Do not abandon your journey simply because it does not resemble somebody else's. There are still pages ahead of you that will make sense of this chapter one day. You just cannot see them yet. That is where faith becomes important. Faith means trusting that unfinished seasons still carry purpose. Faith means believing I am still working even while the picture remains incomplete. Faith means refusing to call the story hopeless before I finish writing it. And I am not finished. Not with your healing, not with your purpose, not with your future, not with your peace, not with your growth. You may feel unfinished right now, but unfinished does not mean abandoned. A building under construction still has purpose, while walls remain incomplete. And your life still carries purpose even while certain areas continue healing. Be patient with yourself during this process. You are becoming, not failing. You are learning, not ruined. You are healing, not forgotten. And one day you will look back at this chapter with different eyes. Not because the pain was enjoyable, but because you will finally understand how much strength was formed inside you while you kept walking forward through uncertainty. There are viewers listening tonight who secretly feel afraid their best days are already behind them. But that fear is not truth. You still have beautiful moments ahead, still have peaceful mornings ahead, still have meaningful relationships ahead, still have answered prayers ahead, still have growth ahead, still have purpose ahead. Your future is not empty simply because your present feels heavy. The story is still unfolding, and heaven is still writing through your life. So tonight, stop speaking final conclusions over unfinished seasons. Stop deciding nothing good can happen before the next chapter even begins. Stop believing pain has more authority over your future than I do. I am still working on your story, even now, especially now. If you believe your story is still unfolding, type, "My story continues," in the comments. And stay with this series until the very end, because these words are here to strengthen weary hearts, restore hope during uncertain seasons, and remind hurting people that unfinished chapters are not failed lives. And if these messages are helping your spirit breathe again, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with somebody who feels discouraged tonight. Your story is still being written, and the best parts have not all happened yet. There were moments when loneliness became louder than the noise around you. You sat in crowded rooms and still felt emotionally unseen. You answered messages. You smiled during conversations. You handled responsibilities. But deep inside, part of you quietly wondered whether anybody truly understood the weight you had been carrying. And after enough seasons of feeling misunderstood, disappointment slowly convinced you to stop opening your heart completely. You became careful, guarded, emotionally distant in places where you once felt open. Not because you stopped caring, but because pain taught you how exhausting it feels to carry heavy emotions alone. But listen to me carefully tonight. You were never created to survive life isolated from love, support, comfort, and connection. You were never meant to carry every burden in silence. And you were never meant to fight every emotional battle alone behind closed doors. My child, loneliness changes people slowly, not always outwardly, but inwardly. It teaches hearts to expect disappointment. It teaches wounded people to stop asking for help. It teaches exhausted souls to believe nobody would understand anyway. And eventually, people begin isolating themselves emotionally, even while surrounded by others. Some of you listening right now have become experts at hiding your struggles. You know how to sound okay. You know how to keep conversations light. You know how to comfort other people while secretly needing comfort yourself. But when the room becomes quiet again, the heaviness returns. The overthinking returns. The sadness returns. The feeling of carrying too much alone returns. I know those moments. I have sat beside you through every one of them. Even during the nights you cried quietly so nobody else would hear. Even during the moments you felt emotionally invisible. Even during the seasons when you questioned whether anybody truly cared about what was happening inside your heart. I cared. I still care. And I never once stopped paying attention to your pain. The enemy wants isolated people to believe they must carry everything themselves. Because isolation magnifies fear. Isolation magnifies hopelessness. Isolation magnifies emotional exhaustion. But healing often begins when people finally stop pretending they are completely fine. Strength is not refusing help. Strength is honesty. Strength is allowing yourself to be supported instead of constantly carrying everyone else while silently collapsing inside. Some of you have spent years being strong for other people. The dependable one, the calm one, the helper, the encourager, the one everybody leans on during difficult seasons. But rarely does anybody stop to ask how you are doing emotionally. And because people became used to your strength, they forgot your heart still needs care too. That hurt you more deeply than you admit sometimes. You gave support while secretly needing support yourself. You listened to others while silently hoping somebody would notice your own exhaustion too. And after enough disappointment, part of you stopped expecting comfort altogether. But listen carefully. You do not need to earn love through endless sacrifice. You do not need to destroy yourself, emotionally proving your value to others. And you do not need to carry every burden alone just because you became good at surviving quietly. Even now, while listening to these words, your soul is longing for rest. Not just physical rest, emotional rest. The kind of rest that comes from finally feeling safe enough to breathe honestly again. And I want you to understand something tonight. You are not weak for needing connection. You are human. Hearts were created for relationship, for encouragement, for comfort, for support. That is why isolation has exhausted you so deeply. You kept trying to survive emotionally without allowing yourself to receive what your soul genuinely needed. Some people hurt you. Some people disappointed you. Some people misunderstood your heart completely. And because of those experiences, trust became difficult. You became afraid of vulnerability, afraid of needing people, afraid of opening your heart, only to experience more disappointment. But not every connection is meant to wound you. There are still kind people in this world, still honest hearts, still safe conversations, still relationships capable of bringing peace instead of pain. Do not let past hurt convince you that love no longer exists. The world has enough coldness already. Do not let pain turn your heart cold too. Your sensitivity is not weakness. Your compassion is not weakness. Your desire for connection is not weakness. These are signs your heart is still alive despite everything it survived. And that matters. There are viewers listening tonight who secretly feel forgotten. You keep wondering whether anybody would truly notice if you stopped showing up emotionally. But heaven notices you. I notice you. And there are people whose lives are lighter because you exist in them. Do not underestimate your presence. Sometimes your greatest impact comes simply through staying beside somebody during difficult seasons, not fixing everything, not having perfect words, just remaining present. Love often heals quietly. The enemy keeps trying to convince you that asking for help makes you burdensome, but burdens grow heavier when carried alone too long. And some of the exhaustion inside you exists because you stopped letting people walk beside you emotionally. Healing requires honesty. Peace requires openness. And growth requires connection. You do not need to reveal your entire soul to everybody, but you do need safe places where your heart can breathe honestly again. Some of you have been praying for peace while refusing closeness because fear convinced you. Vulnerability is dangerous, but walls built for protection eventually become prisons when left standing too long. Not every person deserves access to your heart. That is true, but neither should fear control every relationship in your life forever. You are still worthy of healthy connection, still worthy of support, still worthy of kindness, still worthy of being understood without constantly pretending everything is fine. And I'm already bringing healing into places loneliness tried hard to harden. Even now, especially now, there are conversations ahead of you that will restore hope, people ahead of you who will understand your heart more deeply, friendships ahead of you that will bring peace instead of pressure. You are not destined to remain emotionally alone forever. This season will not last forever, and the loneliness does not define your future. So tonight, stop believing you must carry everything alone. Stop punishing yourself for needing support. Stop pretending your heart feels stronger than it actually does. You were never meant to walk this journey by yourself. If you believe you are not alone anymore, type "I am held" in the comments. And stay with this series until the very end, because these words are here to strengthen weary hearts, calm lonely minds, restore hope during difficult seasons, and remind hurting people that connection, healing, and peace are still possible. You are not abandoned. You are not invisible. And you are not walking through this life alone. There were moments when you stared at your situation and honestly could not see a way forward. Every direction looked blocked. Every answer felt delayed. Every attempt seemed heavier than the last. And because the pressure lasted longer than expected, hopelessness slowly started convincing you that maybe things would never change. Maybe the door would never open. Maybe peace would never return. Maybe your best days had already passed. But listen to me carefully tonight. Just because you cannot currently see the path does not mean the path does not exist. I am still making a way for you even now. Even in this moment, even in the middle of uncertainty. My child, many people believe I only work through obvious miracles. But often, I move quietly before the breakthrough becomes visible. I shift hearts quietly. I arrange connections quietly. I prepare opportunities quietly. I strengthen people quietly. And by the time the visible answer finally arrives, heaven has already been moving behind the scenes for far longer than anyone realized. You keep asking why things feel so unclear, because clarity often comes gradually. A sunrise does not flood the sky all at once. Darkness lifts little by little. And the same is true for many seasons in your life. You wanted immediate certainty. But I have been teaching you how to trust me while the picture remains incomplete. That kind of trust changes people deeply. There are viewers listening tonight who feel emotionally trapped. Trapped in financial stress. Trapped in painful memories. Trapped in anxiety. Trapped in discouragement. Trapped inside seasons that seem repetitive and exhausting. And secretly, you wonder whether anything will ever truly shift again. But I need you to understand something. No season lasts forever. Winter eventually leaves. Night eventually breaks into morning. And difficult chapters eventually give way to new beginnings. You are not permanently stuck. You are moving through a process, even if progress feels slower than you hoped. The enemy wants exhausted people to believe they are trapped forever. Because hopeless people stop expecting doors to open. Hopeless people stop praying boldly. Hopeless people stop noticing signs of movement. but movement is already happening around your life. Even now, you just cannot fully see all of it yet. Some prayers are being answered in stages, some healing unfolds quietly, some doors open gradually, and some miracles begin internally before they ever appear externally. You keep waiting for life to suddenly transform overnight, but many breakthroughs begin with small shifts first. A calmer mind, a stronger spirit, a healthier boundary, a wiser decision, a little more peace than before. These things matter. Do not ignore small changes simply because they arrive softly. Small beginnings often lead to powerful transformations over time. You have become discouraged because you keep measuring your life only by visible outcomes. But unseen progress is still progress. A seed underground still grows even before anybody sees green above the soil, and your life is developing in ways your current perspective cannot fully measure yet. I know uncertainty has exhausted you. You became tired of waiting, tired of hoping, tired of trying to stay positive while carrying heavy emotions privately. But do not confuse exhaustion with failure. Tired hearts can still move forward, weary people can still heal, and discouraged souls can still experience restoration. You are not too late for change. You are not too damaged for new beginnings. You are not too far gone for peace to return. There is still movement ahead of you, still beauty ahead of you, still opportunity ahead of you, still purpose unfolding ahead of you. And although the road currently feels unclear, I have not lost sight of where I am leading you. There were moments in your past where you thought life had completely fallen apart, and yet somehow a path still appeared, strength still appeared, help still appeared. The same will happen again, because I remain faithful even during seasons where your emotions struggle to recognize it. Some of you keep asking for open doors while still staring at old closed ones. You keep replaying disappointments repeatedly in your mind. Relationships that failed, opportunities that disappeared, dreams that unfolded differently than expected. And because those painful memories still hurt, part of your heart became afraid to expect anything beautiful again. But stop building your future around old heartbreak. Not every chapter will end the same way. Not every opportunity will disappoint you. Not every season will wound you. You are growing wiser now, stronger now, more discerning now. And the wisdom developed through painful seasons will help guide your future differently than before. Nothing you survived was meaningless. Even your painful seasons taught you things that now protect your peace. You learned who truly values your heart. You learned what environments drain your spirit. You learned how important rest is. You learned the danger of ignoring emotional exhaustion too long. And all of that wisdom matters moving forward. You are not the same person who entered this difficult season. Growth already happened. Strength already formed. And although you still carry questions, you are becoming steadier than before. That stability matters more than you realize. The future ahead of you does not require perfection. It requires trust. One step at a time, one day at a time, one prayer at a time. Stop demanding that the entire road become visible tonight. You only need enough light for the next step, and I will continue guiding you from there. That is how faith grows, not through total certainty, but through continued trust during unfinished seasons. You are closer to breakthrough than discouragement currently allows you to believe. Closer to peace, closer to healing, closer to clarity, closer to restoration. And one day you will realize, I was making a way even during the moments you thought nothing was happening at all. So tonight, release the lie that your future is hopeless. Release the fear that tells you nothing will ever improve. Release the pressure to understand every detail immediately. I am still leading you, still opening doors, still creating paths where you currently only see obstacles. And I am not finished working on your life. If you still believe breakthrough is possible, type "make a way for me" in the comments. And stay with this series until the very end, because these words are here to strengthen your faith, calm your fears, restore your hope, and remind you that difficult seasons do not last forever. You are not trapped. A new path is already forming ahead of you. There have been days when you wondered whether anybody truly noticed how hard you have been trying. Not the dramatic moments, not the public victories, the quiet effort, the hidden sacrifices, the small acts of faithfulness repeated over and over again while nobody applauded. You kept showing up, kept loving people, kept helping, kept praying, kept carrying responsibilities. And after a while, exhaustion started whispering a painful question inside your heart. Does any of this even matter? But listen to me carefully tonight. Your quiet obedience matters more than you realize. Not one act of faithfulness has been invisible to heaven. Not one sacrifice has been forgotten. Not one weary prayer has fallen unheard. My child, the world has trained people to value what is loud, fast, public, and impressive. But many of the most meaningful things in life grow quietly. A mother waking early every morning to care for her family. A father continuing to work despite emotional exhaustion. A caregiver showing compassion during difficult days. A teacher encouraging students who may never fully understand the impact being made in their lives. A person choosing kindness while carrying private pain. These things matter deeply. Heaven sees what the world often overlooks. You became discouraged because your faithfulness did not immediately produce visible results. You expected quick confirmation that your effort was changing something, but many harvests take time before they appear above the surface. A seed underground does not immediately reveal the life growing inside it. And many things you planted through love, patience, honesty, forgiveness, and endurance are still growing quietly beyond your current sight. You keep measuring your life through applause while heaven measures your life through faithfulness. There is a difference. People often celebrate outcomes. I pay attention to obedience. To the moments when you kept doing good even while tired. To the moments when you stayed gentle even after being hurt. To the moments when you remained honest despite pressure. To the moments when you kept walking forward while carrying heaviness nobody else fully understood. Those moments matter. Even the smallest acts of goodness create ripples farther than you currently realize. Some of you listening tonight feel emotionally exhausted because you spent years giving your best in places where appreciation rarely came back to you. You loved deeply, served faithfully, sacrificed quietly, and still felt unseen. That pain slowly made your heart tired, not because you stopped caring, but because constant pouring without encouragement can wear down even strong people. I know the weariness you carry. I know how discouraging it feels to continue planting kindness into ground that sometimes seems slow to respond. But do not confuse slow results with meaningless effort. A field does not become barren simply because harvest has not arrived yet, and your obedience has not been wasted simply because visible results feel delayed. The enemy wants faithful people to become discouraged enough to stop planting goodness altogether. Because the moment people stop believing their actions matter, bitterness begins growing where hope once lived. But I did not create you to become bitter. I created you to remain rooted in love even during difficult seasons. Not weak love, strong love, the kind of love that remains steady during pressure. The kind that keeps choosing integrity even while nobody applauds. The kind that keeps helping even after disappointment. That kind of character becomes powerful over time, and it is already growing inside you. There are viewers listening tonight who secretly feel emotionally overlooked. You keep carrying responsibilities quietly while everybody assumes you are fine because you rarely complain. But strength does not mean you never become tired. Even faithful hearts grow weary sometimes. Even kind people need encouragement. Even strong people need rest. Stop judging yourself harshly because this season exhausted you emotionally. You have carried more than many people realize. And still, you kept going. That matters. You kept praying despite delays, kept loving despite disappointment, kept believing despite uncertainty. And heaven noticed every bit of it. Do not not let the absence of applause convince you your life lacks significance. Many of the most important people in history lived quietly, loved quietly, served quietly, and changed lives without fully realizing the impact they carried while alive. Purpose does not always announce itself loudly. Sometimes, purpose looks like consistency, patience, gentleness, integrity, and simple daily faithfulness repeated over time. You do not need to become famous to become meaningful. You do not need public recognition to become valuable. You do not need everybody to understand your journey for your obedience to matter. I understand it completely. Even now, while listening to these words, some of you feel emotionally close to quitting. Not quitting life completely, just quitting emotionally, stopping effort, stopping hope, stopping expectation. Because discouragement convinced you nothing is changing anyway. But listen carefully. Do not abandon the field too early. Some harvests arrive quietly after long waiting seasons, and exhausted hearts often fail to recognize how close growth actually is. Healing is happening. Strength is growing. Wisdom is developing. Doors are aligning. And the seeds you planted through years of faithfulness are not dead. Nothing done with love is ever truly wasted. One kind word can stay in somebody's heart for years. One moment of patience can soften somebody's pain permanently. One act of encouragement can stop another person from giving up. Never underestimate what your obedience carries, even when the results remain invisible for a while. You are planting things your eyes cannot fully measure yet, and one day you will realize your quiet faithfulness mattered far more than you understood during the process. The world keeps teaching people to chase visibility, but heaven still values faithfulness most, and faithful people become deeply rooted over time. That is what I am building inside you now, not temporary excitement, lasting strength, not shallow success, deep character, not fragile confidence, steady peace. So tonight, stop speaking hopelessly over your effort. Stop assuming nothing meaningful is happening simply because the season feels quiet. Stop believing your obedience disappeared unnoticed. I saw every sacrifice, every prayer, every tear, every exhausted act of kindness, and none of it was meaningless. If you are staying faithful even during difficult seasons, comment, "He sees me," in the comments, and stay with this series until the very end, because these words are here to strengthen weary hearts, encourage faithful people, restore hope during long waiting seasons, and remind you that quiet obedience still carries eternal value. You are not unseen. And your faithfulness still matters deeply. There was a time when your heart felt lighter than this, a time when joy came easier, when breathing felt easier, when your mind was not constantly carrying pressure, fear, overthinking, and emotional exhaustion all at once. But after enough disappointment, enough waiting, enough heartbreak, enough silent battles, your inner peace slowly became difficult to recognize. You learned how to survive while anxious, how to function while emotionally tired, how to smile while your thoughts quietly battled heaviness underneath. And after living under pressure for so long, part of you started believing peace was something other people experienced, but not you. But listen to me carefully tonight. Peace is not gone forever from your life, and your heart was never created to live trapped inside constant heaviness. Peace will return to you again. Not fake peace, not temporary distraction, real peace. The kind that settles deeply into the soul. The kind that remains steady, even while life still contains uncertainty. My child, many people search for peace in control. They believe if they can just predict every outcome, solve every problem, and prevent every disappointment, then finally they will feel calm again. But control has never healed the human heart. It only exhausts it. You were never designed to carry the pressure of managing everything perfectly. That burden has been crushing your spirit for too long. You keep trying to hold tomorrow before tomorrow arrives, trying to solve conversations before they happen, trying to prepare emotionally for pain before it even exists. And little by little, anxiety became your normal state of living. But anxiety is not your permanent home. I know fear has spoken loudly inside your mind. I know uncertainty has exhausted you. I know there were nights when your thoughts would not slow down no matter how tired your body felt. And I know there were mornings when your heart already felt heavy before the day even fully started. But listen carefully tonight. Your mind does not have to stay this overwhelmed forever. Your soul does not have to remain trapped inside survival mode forever. Healing is possible. Calmness is possible. Rest is possible. You became so used to carrying emotional pressure that peace almost feels unfamiliar now. Silence makes you uncomfortable because your mind became trained to expect stress constantly. Moments of calm feel temporary because disappointment taught you to prepare for the next painful thing quickly. But your nervous system was not created to live in constant fear. You need rest, not laziness. Rest. The kind of rest that allows your soul to breathe honestly again. The kind of rest that reminds your heart it does not need to stay prepared for disaster every moment of the day. Some of you listening tonight secretly feel guilty whenever you slow down. You feel guilty resting, guilty saying no, guilty protecting your peace, because somewhere along the way you learn to measure your worth through exhaustion. But exhaustion is not proof of value. Burning yourself out does not make you more lovable. Destroying your mental peace, trying to save everybody else, will not heal your own soul. You need boundaries. You need stillness. You need moments where your spirit can recover instead of constantly surviving. Even now, while listening to these words, your heart is slowly remembering what calmness feels like. Not perfect calmness, but enough peace to breathe a little deeper again. That matters. Small peace still matters. Small healing still matters. Small moments of rest still matter. Do not overlook quiet recovery simply because it arrives gradually. A storm does not disappear instantly. The winds slowly settle. And your inner life is healing the same way. Little by little, one layer at a time. Stop speaking hopelessly over your emotional health. Stop deciding you will always feel this anxious. Stop believing peace belongs to everybody except you. I am restoring your heart slowly, even now. The enemy wants exhausted people to believe they are permanently damaged. Because hopeless hearts stop expecting healing. But your healing already started. You are becoming more aware of what drains you emotionally, more aware of what steals your peace, more aware of the relationships, habits, environments, and thought patterns that leave your spirit exhausted. That awareness is part of restoration too. You are learning to care for your soul instead of constantly abandoning yourself emotionally. And that matters deeply. There are viewers listening tonight who secretly feel emotionally numb, not because you stopped caring, but because your heart became tired of carrying too much for too long. You survived disappointment by shutting parts of yourself down emotionally, and now you wonder whether joy will ever feel natural again. It will, not overnight, but gradually. You will laugh again without forcing it. You will wake up some mornings without immediate heaviness. You will experience calm moments that no longer feel temporary. You will breathe without constantly preparing for the worst. Peace is returning slowly. Do not rush the process. A wounded heart recovers gently, and healing requires patience. You keep becoming frustrated because you expected restoration to happen instantly. But deep healing takes time. Not because I forgot you, because real restoration rebuilds the foundation carefully. And I'm rebuilding you carefully now. One peaceful moment at a time. One healed thought at a time. One surrendered fear at a time. The future ahead of you does not need to be carried in panic. You are allowed to rest tonight, allowed to breathe tonight, allowed to release pressure tonight. You do not need every answer immediately. You do not need to fix your entire life before allowing yourself peace. You only need to trust me with the next step, and I will continue walking beside you through the rest. There are still peaceful seasons ahead of you. Your current emotions cannot fully imagine yet. still restful nights, still calm mornings, still joyful conversations, still healed relationships, still quiet moments where your soul finally feels safe again. Your story is not ending in emotional exhaustion. Peace is still coming back to your heart. If you are receiving peace today, type, "My heart will rest," in the comments. And stay with this series until the very end, because these words are here to strengthen weary hearts, calm anxious minds, restore hope during difficult seasons, and remind hurting people that healing and peace are still possible. And if these messages are helping your spirit breathe again, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with somebody who has been carrying silent emotional battles. And if these words genuinely bless your heart and help bring peace into your life, you can also support this ministry through the link below, so these messages can continue reaching tired hearts around the world. Peace is not finished with you yet. It is already finding its way back to your heart. There were seasons you never thought you would make it through. Seasons where the pressure felt unbearable, where your thoughts became heavy, where your heart felt exhausted, where the future looked uncertain, and hope felt fragile. And yet somehow you are still here, still breathing, still moving forward, still searching for light, even after walking through dark places. That matters more than you realize, because survival is not a small thing. My child, you keep focusing on what still hurts while forgetting how much you already overcame. You keep staring at the wounds that remain while ignoring the strength developed through surviving them. But pause for a moment tonight and truly look at your life honestly. You survived heartbreaks that once convinced you joy would never return. You survived disappointments that shook your confidence. You survived lonely seasons where you felt emotionally unseen. You survived nights where anxiety stole your rest. You survived prayers that took far longer than expected. And even though some seasons nearly broke you emotionally, they did not destroy you completely. You are still standing. Not perfectly, not without scars, but standing. And heaven sees the strength it took for you to keep going when giving up would have felt easier. The enemy wants exhausted people to forget how far they already came. Because discouraged hearts become blind to their own resilience. You keep speaking to yourself as though you are weak, while carrying evidence of survival everywhere inside your story. Weak people do not continue trying after repeated disappointment. Weak people do not keep loving after heartbreak. Weak people do not keep searching for healing after painful seasons. But you kept moving, even slowly, even tired, even uncertain. You kept moving. That is strength, not loud strength, quiet strength, the kind built through endurance, the kind formed in hidden battles nobody else fully saw. There are viewers listening tonight who became so used to surviving that you forgot how extraordinary your resilience actually is. You normalized pain because you carried it for so long. You normalized pressure, normalized anxiety, normalized emotional exhaustion. And because survival became familiar, you stopped recognizing the courage it took simply to continue. But I recognized it. I saw the mornings you forced yourself out of bed despite heaviness. I saw the nights you cried privately while still trying to stay strong for others. I saw the moments you almost quit emotionally, but chose to keep walking forward anyway. Those moments mattered deeply. You think courage always looks fearless, but many times courage looks like trembling while still refusing to stop. And that is exactly what you have done. My child, pain changed you, but it did not only wound you, it also strengthened you in ways comfort never could. You became more compassionate through suffering, more understanding through disappointment, more patient through waiting, more aware of what truly matters through loss. Those lessons were painful, but they developed wisdom inside you, and wisdom matters more than temporary success ever will. Some of you became frustrated because life hardened certain parts of your story. You wanted things to feel easier by now, wanted your heart to feel lighter, wanted the battle to already be over. But do not confuse ongoing healing with failure. A person recovering from deep wounds still carries strength even while healing continues. And you are still healing. That process deserves patience, not shame. Stop punishing yourself because you are not fully restored yet. Stop speaking hopelessly over your recovery simply because growth feels slower than expected. You are rebuilding parts of your soul that carried pain for years. That takes time. Even now, you are stronger than the version of yourself who first entered this difficult season. You no longer collapse under pressure the same way. You no longer trust every harmful voice immediately. You no longer abandon yourself emotionally just to keep everybody else comfortable. That growth matters. Do not overlook small victories simply because they arrived quietly. Quiet progress is still progress. And unseen healing is still healing. The world often celebrates dramatic transformations, but many of the deepest changes happen slowly, steadily, patiently, underneath the surface, where few people notice at first. That is how endurance grows. And endurance has been growing inside you for a long time now. You survived moments your past self thought would completely destroy you. Remember that. The breakup did not destroy you. The disappointment did not destroy you. The lonely season did not destroy you. The anxiety did not destroy you. The delay did not destroy you. Pain wounded you, but it did not finish you. You are still becoming, still growing, still learning, still healing, and your future still carries beautiful things ahead of you. Do not let exhaustion convince you your best days already passed. There is still joy ahead, still peace ahead, still healing ahead, still meaningful connection ahead, still laughter ahead, still purpose ahead. The chapter you survived was not the ending of your story. It was preparation for the next season of growth. And one day you will look back with different eyes. Not because the pain itself was good, but because you will finally understand how much strength was formed inside you while you kept walking through difficult seasons. The resilience developed through survival will help carry you into future blessings with wisdom your old self did not yet possess. Nothing you survived was meaningless. Not the tears, not the waiting, not the confusion, not the heartbreak, not even the lonely nights where you thought nobody understood your pain. I understood. I was there through all of it. And I am still beside you now. You do not need to become fearless overnight. You only need to continue moving forward, one step at a time. That is enough. Healing does not require perfection. Growth does not require constant certainty. And peace does not require a completely problem-free life. You are allowed to become slowly, allowed to recover gradually, allowed to breathe while healing continues. So tonight, stop calling yourself weak. Stop forgetting how much you already survived. Stop speaking as though your story only contains pain. Your story also contains resilience, wisdom, endurance, growth, and quiet courage that heaven noticed every single day. If you are stronger than your past, type, "I made it through," in the comments. And stay with this series until the very end, because these words are here to strengthen weary hearts, restore hope during difficult seasons, and remind hurting people that survival itself is proof that healing and restoration are still possible. You survived more than you realize, and your strength is still growing. There were moments when you almost stopped expecting anything good to happen, not because you lost all faith completely, but because disappointment visited your life too many times in a row. You prayed, waited, hoped, tried again, and after enough delays, part of your heart quietly became afraid to believe new doors could still open for you. You started protecting yourself emotionally by expecting less joy, less breakthrough, less peace, less possibility, because hoping deeply felt dangerous after being hurt repeatedly. But listen to me carefully tonight. Do not let past disappointment convince you your future is closed. The door you prayed for is still opening, even now, even while you cannot fully see it yet. My child, many people think open doors appear suddenly without preparation, but often, Before a visible opportunity arrives, I first prepare the person who will walk through it. That is why certain seasons in your life became slower than expected. Not because I forgot you, because preparation was happening. You kept praying for change around you while I was strengthening things within you. Your patience grew, your discernment grew, your wisdom grew, your emotional endurance grew. And although the process felt uncomfortable, it prepared you to carry future blessings differently than before. There are opportunities ahead of you that your old self would not have handled wisely. Relationships your old self would have entered too quickly. Doors your old self would have walked through without discernment. But now you are becoming steadier, calmer, wiser, more emotionally aware. That growth matters deeply. You thought the season was only delaying you, but many times it was protecting you. The enemy wanted your discouragement to convince you to stop expecting anything beautiful ahead. Because people who stop expecting eventually stop preparing. But I need you to prepare your heart again. Not with panic, not with pressure, with faith. There are still blessings moving toward your life, still answers unfolding, still connections forming, still opportunities aligning quietly behind the scenes. And although the process feels slow from your perspective, movement is already happening. You became so focused on what has not happened yet that you stopped noticing what already changed. Look at yourself honestly for a moment. You are not the same person you were before this season began. Pain matured you, waiting deepened you, healing softened you, and survival strengthened you. You learned lessons your old self did not understand. You became more careful with your peace, more aware of unhealthy patterns, more protective of your emotional health, more honest about your limits. Those changes matter. The future ahead of you requires the wisdom being developed inside you now. That is why this season was necessary. Not to punish you, to prepare you. Some of you listening tonight secretly feel afraid to hope again. You fear disappointment so much that you hesitate to expect anything beautiful. You became emotionally cautious, guarded, because life taught you how painful unmet expectations can feel. But not every chapter will end in heartbreak. Not every opportunity will collapse. Not every relationship will wound you, and not every prayer will remain unanswered forever. Do not build your future entirely around old pain. You are moving into new territory now, and the wisdom gained through previous seasons will help guide you differently moving forward. Even now, doors are opening in ways you cannot fully see yet. Conversations are aligning, people are being positioned, timing is unfolding, and the things you thought were permanently delayed are still capable of arriving at the right moment. The problem is that exhausted hearts often stop recognizing signs of movement. You expected thunder, but many breakthroughs begin quietly. A new idea, a peaceful feeling returning, a healthier opportunity, a conversation opening unexpectedly, a burden becoming lighter. These things matter. Do not overlook small beginnings simply because they arrive softly. A sunrise changes the world gradually, and many answers unfold the same way. The world teaches people to rush constantly, but I am teaching you steadiness. Because doors open too early can become destructive instead of peaceful. And I care more about your long-term peace than temporary excitement. Some of the delays you cried over protected you from things that would have wounded your future deeply. One day, you will understand why certain doors stayed closed. But tonight, I need you to trust that closed doors do not mean your life is finished. Sometimes, closed doors redirect people toward better paths, and sometimes delayed doors prepare hearts for healthier seasons. You are not being forgotten. You are being guided. There are viewers listening tonight who secretly feel emotionally stuck. You keep asking yourself whether your life will always feel this uncertain. But uncertainty is not permanence, and difficult seasons are not forever. A new chapter is already forming ahead of you, even if you cannot fully read the pages yet. You do not need every detail tonight. You only need enough faith to keep walking forward. That is how purpose unfolds, one step at a time, one open door at a time, one act of trust at a time. And I will continue guiding you through the next season, just like I carried you through the last one. You survived too much to stop believing now. You survived heartbreak, delay, fear, loneliness, confusion, and still you are here, still listening, still hoping somewhere deep inside that something beautiful can happen again. Hold on to that hope, because hope is not foolish. Hope is the beginning of restoration, and restoration is already moving closer than you realize. So tonight, stop speaking final defeat over unfinished seasons. Stop assuming nothing good is coming simply because the answer took longer than expected. Stop believing closed doors are the end of your story. I am still opening paths ahead of you, still creating opportunities, still guiding your future carefully. And the next chapter of your life still carries blessings your current emotions cannot fully imagine yet. If you believe new doors are opening, type "I am ready" in the comments and stay with this series until the very end. Because these words are here to strengthen weary hearts, restore hope during delayed seasons, and remind hurting people that heaven is still moving even when progress feels invisible. You are not stuck forever. The door you prayed for is already beginning to open. There were moments when fear became so familiar that you stopped noticing how deeply it was controlling your life. You called it caution. You called it preparation. You called it being realistic. But underneath all of it, your heart had quietly become exhausted from constantly expecting something bad to happen next. You feared disappointment, feared loss, feared failure, feared rejection, feared the future. And after carrying those fears long enough, peace started feeling unfamiliar to you. But listen to me carefully tonight. Your heart was never created to live imprisoned by fear. I did not create you to spend your life constantly bracing for disaster. I created you to live with trust, not perfect certainty. Trust. There is a difference. My child, fear changes the way people see everything. Fear magnifies problems. Fear shrinks hope. Fear convinces people to expect darkness even during moments where light is already beginning to appear. And some of you listening tonight have been carrying fear for so long that you no longer remember what emotional freedom feels like. You wake up already tense, already overthinking, already emotionally preparing for difficulties before the day even fully begins. And because fear became your normal state, your nervous system forgot how to truly rest. I know the heaviness you carry. I know the pressure running through your thoughts late at night. I know the exhausting cycle of replaying conversations, imagining worst-case scenarios, and trying to predict outcomes before they even happen. But hear me clearly tonight. Fear is not protecting your future. It is stealing your present peace. You keep trying to control tomorrow because uncertainty frightens you. But the future was never meant to rest entirely in your hands. That pressure is crushing your soul. You were never designed to carry the burden of controlling every outcome. You were only meant to walk with me one step at a time. Some of you became fearful because life wounded you unexpectedly before. Things changed suddenly. People disappointed you suddenly. Loss entered suddenly. And now your heart keeps trying to prevent future pain by staying constantly alert. But constant alertness is exhausting you emotionally. You cannot heal while living in permanent panic. You cannot experience peace while your thoughts remain trapped inside endless fear. And tonight, I am asking you to release some of the weight you were never meant to carry alone. Not tomorrow. Tonight. You keep waiting until every situation becomes perfect before allowing yourself to rest emotionally. But peace does not begin when every problem disappears. Peace begins when your heart remembers who is walking beside you through the problems. Even now, while listening to these words, your breathing is slowing slightly. Your shoulders are relaxing slightly. Your soul is remembering that fear does not deserve complete authority over your life anymore. That matters. Small moments of calm still matter. Small moments of trust still matter. Do not overlook quiet healing simply because it arrives gradually. A storm calms little by little, and fearful hearts heal the same way, one surrendered thought at a time, one peaceful moment at a time, one act of trust at a time. The enemy wants fearful people to believe they will always feel trapped emotionally. Because hopeless people stop expecting freedom, but freedom is still possible for you. Your mind can heal. Your heart can rest again. Your future can contain peace instead of constant dread. Stop speaking over yourself as though fear is your permanent identity. You are not simply an anxious person. You are a person healing from seasons that overwhelmed your soul. There is a difference, and healing takes patience. You became frustrated because you expected your fears to disappear overnight, but deep healing happens gradually. A wounded heart learns safety slowly, and I am teaching your heart safety again now. Not through pressure, through presence, through repeated reminders that you are not abandoned, not forgotten, not carrying life alone. Some of you listening tonight secretly feel tired of fighting your own thoughts, tired of overthinking, tired of emotional exhaustion, tired of trying to appear calm while your mind races internally. But do not condemn yourself because the battle has been difficult. Even strong people experience fear. Even faithful people struggle sometimes. Even courageous hearts become tired. That does not mean you are failing. It means you are human, and I remain patient with you while healing continues. You do not need perfect emotional stability before I continue loving you. You do not need complete fearlessness before peace becomes possible. You simply need willingness to keep trusting me, little by little. And trust is already growing inside you, even now. You no longer believe every fearful thought immediately. You no longer collapse emotionally the same way you once did. You are becoming more aware of what steals your peace, more aware of what overwhelms your spirit, more aware of how important rest, boundaries, stillness, and honesty truly are. That growth matters deeply. Do not overlook the quiet progress happening inside you. Fear once controlled your entire emotional world, but now healing is slowly teaching your heart another way to live, a calmer way, a steadier way, a freer way. There are still peaceful seasons ahead of you, still restful nights ahead of you, still mornings where your heart feels lighter again, still moments where joy returns naturally instead of feeling forced. Your future is not destined to remain trapped inside fear forever. And one day you will realize this season taught you how to depend on me more deeply than comfort ever could. Not because fear itself was good, but because your healing taught you where true safety actually comes from. Not from controlling everything, not from predicting every outcome, but from trusting me through uncertainty. That kind of trust creates lasting peace. So tonight, stop carrying tomorrow all at once. Stop preparing emotionally for disasters that have not even happened. Stop allowing fear to narrate your future before your future arrives. I am already present in the tomorrow you are afraid of, and I will still be faithful there too. If you are choosing peace over fear today, type "I trust you completely" in the comments. And stay with this series until the very end, because these words are here to calm anxious hearts, restore weary minds, strengthen your spirit during difficult seasons, and remind you that fear does not get the final word over your future. You do not belong to fear anymore. Peace is learning how to live inside your heart again. There were moments when you truly believed something in your life had ended forever. A relationship ended, a dream collapsed, a season closed, a door shut unexpectedly. And because the loss hurt so deeply, part of your heart quietly concluded that nothing beautiful could grow again after this. You thought the pain marked the ending of your story. But listen to me carefully tonight. What you thought was the end was often the beginning of a new chapter you could not yet see. My child, endings frighten people because endings force release. And release feels painful when you invested your heart deeply into something. You invested hope, time, energy, prayer, love. And when things changed unexpectedly, grief entered your life, carrying questions you could not immediately answer. Why did this happen? Why did things fall apart? Why did the timing feel so unfair? Why did the future suddenly look different than what you imagined? I know those questions have weighed heavily on your heart. I know there were nights when disappointment made everything feel uncertain. I know there were moments when you looked at the ruins of what once mattered deeply to you and quietly wondered whether life would ever feel whole again. But hear me clearly tonight. Not every ending is destruction. Some endings are redirection. Some endings are protection. And some endings are the painful doorway into the next season of growth your old life could never fully contain. You keep grieving the version of your life you expected. Meanwhile, new possibilities are quietly waiting ahead of you. But pain makes it difficult to see future beauty clearly. Wounded hearts often assume the loss means life itself has become hopeless. That is why I am reminding you tonight. The story did not stop when the chapter became painful. The story kept moving. Even while you cried. Even while you felt confused. Even while you questioned whether you had the strength to continue. You kept surviving. And survival matters. There are viewers listening tonight who secretly feel emotionally stuck in the memory of what used to be. You replay old conversations, old disappointments, old versions of yourself. And because those memories still hurt, your heart became afraid to move fully forward. Part of you still stands emotionally in places your life has already left behind. But you cannot fully step into new beginnings while constantly living inside old endings. I know letting go feels difficult, especially when you loved deeply, especially when you hoped sincerely, especially when you imagined a different future. But some things had to end because they could not carry you into the next season peacefully. Not every closed door was punishment. Some closed doors protected your future. And one day you will understand why certain things could not continue with you into the life ahead. You became discouraged because you interpreted every ending as failure. But endings do not always mean failure. A season ending is not failure. Winter ending is not failure. Night ending is not failure. And certain chapters closing in your life were necessary for new growth to begin. You keep asking why things had to change, because growth often requires release. A tree cannot keep every leaf forever, and people cannot carry every season forever either. Some relationships end, some habits end, some versions of yourself end, and although release feels painful, it creates space for new life to emerge. That is what I am doing inside you now, creating space. Space for healthier peace, healthier love, healthier thinking, healthier purpose. You are not losing your life, you are growing beyond old limitations. Even now, while grieving certain losses, transformation is still happening inside you. You are wiser than before, more discerning, more emotionally aware, more careful about protecting your peace. Those lessons matter. Pain taught you things comfort never could, not because suffering itself was beautiful, but because survival developed strength inside you. And that strength will guide your future differently moving forward. The enemy wanted your heartbreak to convince you that nothing beautiful could ever happen again. Because wounded people stop expecting joy, they stop trusting, stop dreaming, stop believing restoration is possible. But restoration is still possible for you. Joy is still possible for you. Love is still possible for you. Peace is still possible for you. Your future did not disappear because one chapter ended painfully. There are still moments ahead of you your current emotions cannot fully imagine yet. Still peaceful mornings, still meaningful conversations, still answered prayers, still opportunities, still laughter returning unexpectedly, still healing unfolding quietly, still beauty arriving after sorrow. You are not trapped in the past forever. And the version of you emerging from this season carries wisdom your old self did not yet possess. That wisdom will help protect your future. You became more aware of red flags, more aware of unhealthy patterns, more aware of how important emotional honesty truly is. Those lessons were expensive, but they were not meaningless. Nothing you survived was completely wasted. Not the heartbreak, not the confusion, not the lonely nights, not even the endings that shattered your expectations. I know how to create new beginnings from broken places. That is one of the things I do best. You may not fully recognize the new season yet, because healing often begins quietly, like dawn slowly replacing darkness, like spring slowly replacing winter, like roots quietly growing beneath frozen ground. But movement is already happening. Life is already returning. Hope is already rebuilding itself inside your spirit, little by little. And one day you will realize the ending you feared became the beginning that transformed your life completely. So tonight, stop calling your story finished. Stop deciding your future based only on your current pain. Stop believing loss has more authority over your life than I do. I am still writing beauty into your story, still rebuilding, still restoring, still guiding you toward a future greater than the disappointment behind you. If you believe new beginnings are possible, comment, "I will rise again" in the comments. And stay with this series until the very end, because these words are here to strengthen weary hearts, restore hope after heartbreak, calm fearful minds, and remind hurting people that endings are not always destruction. Sometimes they are the doorway into healing, peace, and a future you could not yet imagine. Your story did not end in the pain. A new beginning is already rising from it. There were seasons when you questioned whether all the waiting had any meaning at all. You kept planting effort into days that felt ordinary, kept praying through silence, kept loving people while carrying your own hidden exhaustion, kept showing up while your heart quietly wondered whether anything beautiful was truly growing from all this unseen struggle. And because the harvest delayed longer than expected, discouragement tried convincing you that your faithfulness had accomplished nothing. But listen to me carefully tonight. Your harvest is coming, and when it arrives, you will understand why the process required patience. My child, the world has taught people to chase quick results, instant success, instant healing, instant answers. But many of the strongest things I build in human lives develop slowly, quietly, deeply. Roots grow before fruit appears. Strength develops before opportunity arrives. Character forms before influence expands. And some of the greatest transformations happen beneath the surface long before the visible harvest finally appears. That is what has been happening inside you. You thought nothing was changing because you kept measuring growth only through visible outcomes. But heaven saw the invisible growth too, the stronger spirit, the calmer reactions, the deeper wisdom, the gentler heart that survived pain without becoming cruel. That growth matters more than you realize. There are viewers listening tonight who secretly feel emotionally tired of waiting, tired of hoping, tired of carrying faith through uncertain seasons. And I know the waiting stretched you deeply. I know there were moments when you almost gave up emotionally because the timeline felt too long. But hear me clearly tonight. The waiting was never wasted. Every prayer mattered. Every act of obedience mattered. Every quiet sacrifice mattered. Every exhausted step forward mattered. Nothing done with love disappears unnoticed in heaven. The enemy wanted you to abandon the field before the harvest season arrived, because discouraged people often quit closest to breakthrough. Exhausted hearts stop recognizing signs of movement, and wounded minds become so focused on surviving that they fail to notice healing already happening quietly underneath the surface. But healing has been happening. Growth has been happening. Preparation has been happening. Even now, you are not the same person who first entered this difficult season. Pain matured you. Waiting strengthened you. Healing softened you, and survival developed resilience your old self did not yet possess. You learned how to depend on me differently, learned how to protect your peace, learned how to recognize what truly matters. Those lessons became part of the harvest too, because real harvest is not only external blessing. Real harvest is internal transformation, a peaceful spirit, a wiser heart, a steadier mind, a deeper faith. These things carry value beyond temporary success. The world celebrates visible achievement loudly, but heaven also celebrates quiet endurance, and you endured more faithfully than you realize. There were days you continued despite heaviness, continued despite confusion, continued despite disappointment, and every one of those moments planted seeds into your future. You thought the season only contained pain, but the season was also planting wisdom, planting discernment, planting strength, planting peace that future storms will no longer easily destroy. Nothing you survived was meaningless. Not the tears, not the delays, not the heartbreak, not the lonely nights, not even the moments where your faith felt tired and fragile. I was still carrying you through all of it. My child, one day your life will speak for itself, not through arrogance, not through performance, but through quiet evidence of what endurance produced. The peace in your spirit will speak, the wisdom in your words will speak, the strength in your character will speak, and people will see something steady inside you that only difficult seasons could have formed. That is part of your harvest too. You keep waiting for dramatic proof that everything changed, but many harvests arrive gradually, quietly, like sunrise entering the sky, like spring replacing winter, like fruit slowly ripening after a long season underground. And your life is already shifting more than you currently realize. Some of the prayers you thought were ignored are already unfolding behind the scenes. Some of the doors you thought were permanently closed are still being prepared carefully. Some of the healing you thought never started is already happening inside your heart. Do not rush what I am growing in your life. A rushed harvest cannot sustain itself long, but a mature harvest remains steady. That is why this season required patience. You are becoming someone capable of carrying future blessings without losing your peace in the process. And that matters deeply. There are still beautiful moments ahead of you, still calm mornings, still joyful conversations, still meaningful relationships, still opportunities, still restoration, still purpose unfolding, still peace returning more fully than before. Your future is not empty, and your story is not ending in exhaustion. The harvest will come, not always according to your timing, but according to wisdom greater than your fear. And when the season fully turns, you will finally understand why certain prayers took longer than expected. Not because I forgot you, because I was building something deeper than temporary comfort. I was building lasting strength. You survived too much to quit now, too much to stop hoping now, too much to abandon your future now. The story is still unfolding, and the next chapter still carries beauty your current emotions cannot fully imagine yet. So, tonight, breathe deeply again. Release the pressure to force every answer immediately. Release the fear that tells you nothing good is coming. Release the hopelessness that formed during difficult seasons. And trust me with what is still unfinished. I am still guiding your life, still restoring your heart, still opening doors, still preparing blessings, still turning painful seasons into wisdom and strength that will one day help others survive their own difficult chapters too. You are not forgotten. You are not behind. And your faithfulness was never wasted. If you are stepping into your next season, type, "I receive the harvest," in the comments. And if this entire series strengthened your heart, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who has been silently struggling through a difficult season. And if these messages truly brought peace, healing, and hope into your life, you can also support this ministry through the link below. so more weary hearts around the world can continue receiving encouragement through these words. Keep walking forward, keep believing, keep planting goodness, because the season is turning.